The National Education Union has said it will debate the scrapping of GCSEs at its Easter conference. The union says it's being backed by the new Times Education Commission, as well as a group of MPs as they look to reform the way 16-year-olds take exams. We can talk to Dr. Mary Bousted, the Joint General Secretary of the National Education Union. Hello, Mary.
Hello, John.
So you're going to be debating this. Do you feel this is the moment for change, and if so, why?
I do think this is a moment, and so does the union. I think that what the past 2 years has shown us is the fact that if exams can't be taken, then we have to scramble around for a new way to assess students at GCSE and at A-level. And the fact is, as a country, we invest far more than other countries in one method of assessing pupils at 16 and 18, and it's the exam. Whereas other countries who perform better than we do in the education league tables have a much broader range of assessments.
Yeah.
And that's something we should look at. And the other reason is that the O-level was created, and then the GCSE, at a time when it was possible to leave school at 16, and that would be the end of your education. But now we require young people to stay in education and training until they're 18. So we're asking, why do you set this hurdle at 16, which takes away so much teaching time because you teach the test and they revise for the test, and just sets an artificial barrier when actually secondary education is 11 to 18.
Yes. So you're clearly very sceptical about the value of the GCSE exam. Does that mean, Mary, there is a settled view that it should change on the part of the National Education Union? I ask that because there are differing views on this, aren't there, in education, among teachers, certainly in government.
Well, there isn't a settled view yet, and we will be debating it at conference. But I think it's very interesting. Yesterday, I had a meeting with Flick Drummond, who's a Tory MP, part of the One Nation group of Conservative MPs in Parliament, over 100 MPs in that group. And they've produced a paper which say that GCSE should be abolished and there should be a baccalaureate-style exam at 18, a baccalaureate-style qualification which has academic and vocational roots. So they're saying that. We've got, as you say, the Times Commission looking at assessment, looking at the number of exams we route march our young people through. And so they're looking at how that affects the curriculum and how that affects skills development. So there are conversations breaking out in all sorts of places, unusual places. You've got the CBI saying that our children are over-examined and they don't leave school with the skills and abilities that they need for the world of work.
Yes.
So these are conversations which are just happening, and now is a moment to really examine what do we want from our education system, and how much do we want to examine, how much do we want to assess, and what sort of curriculum do we need?
Yeah, so a moment to have the conversation. And as you say, you're now doing this, and there's the Times Commission, which is launching now, which is going to be quite an extensive operation, looking at all sorts of possible reforms in education, in schools and in universities. So there will be a lively debate, which doesn't necessarily mean a moment of change, does it? Because among your members, do you take the support for this change for granted when the time comes to debate it when your union gets together, Mary? Because there are teachers, aren't there, who believe exams serve a useful purpose. They add a discipline and a focus to learning.
Well, I think exams do serve a useful purpose, absolutely. And no one's saying, and we're certainly not saying, that exams should be abolished. What we're questioning is, are exams the only way to assess pupils? Because that's not what's done in high-performing systems in other countries. What you need is a balance of exams and other forms of assessment. And then you have to determine, when do you want the exams to take place? But we're certainly not taking it for granted. There will be a debate at conference. When we debated it 2 years ago, there was a debate about the abolition of GCSEs, and it was defeated.
Yeah.
So certainly this is a live debate, and all we're doing is raising the issue, as so many other politicians and indeed the Times is doing.
Yeah, so look, we can look forward to a fascinating conversation, but I can think of one obstacle to the kind of change you're discussing here, and his name's Gavin Williamson, because he's not at all persuaded of that, is he?
Well, Gavin Williamson said throughout from September to December that exams would take place this year, and they haven't done. So if Gavin Williamson's saying there'll be no change to GCSEs and A-levels, I think we can take that with a liberal pinch of salt.
Well, one thing you have to accept is, at least as far as we can see now, he is the Secretary of State for Education, and that is quite an important voice when it comes to determining education policy on such a thing as this.
Well, he is for now, yes.
Well, you're counting on him being gone for this debate to progress.
Well, it's a question, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting question. It's one we've debated on this programme. You then yourself, Mary, I mean, you're listening to your members. You're going to conduct and in some ways chair this debate. Are you resolved in your own mind that the time has come to move on from GCSEs?
I think the time has come on, absolutely arrived, for the question to be seriously debated. And I would ask the question, why are schools spending millions of pounds, money that they could spend on other things, in exam fees for GCSEs, when the students will be staying in will be staying in education and training till they're 18. I look at other countries like Germany and France, which do not have this artificial break at 16 to decide where students will go. Well, they delay the assessment until they're 18, when it's appropriate to have it, because the assessment at 18 says what are the best routes for you in the future, and that allows those countries to have greater learning time because you're not teaching for the exam, and it allows them to have a range of routes, an academic route, a vocational route, and a mix of the both of them. It allows them to demand that all students study language and maths until they're 18, so to develop those skills in those core subjects. So now is the time for a serious, sustained debate. I'm delighted that the Times is having that debate, and I'm delighted that we will be having that debate at conference.
All right. Dr. Mary Bousted, Joint General Secretary of the National Education Union. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.